I will tell you what happened to me working as a security guard in a morgue. I work as a security guard in a morgue. My shift is night, from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., and each shift is covered by a single security guard. I am in charge of controlling the entry of corpses, receiving family members to enter and identify them, recording their data, and of course, maintaining the security of the facility. The entrance to the building is about 20 meters from the security booth, and for some time now the door has been closed at 11 p.m., once all the doctors leave. One afternoon an ambulance brought a death. The boys who gave the details of the deceased were very faint, sweaty and dizzy. The driver couldn't stop sobbing, and he felt very tired, something that almost never happens. I asked him if they were okay, and if they needed anything, and they answered no, that they just wanted to deliver that lifeless body and go home. So we continued with the protocol without giving it importance, and continued with the work. I wrote down the victim's information. The diagnosis was brutal, strangulation followed by impalement, found in a nearby lagoon. When I checked the cameras, I saw what they were carrying: a corpse in an advanced state of decomposition with the skull exposed, the skin loose, maggots everywhere, and the stick that had gone through it horribly, from the anus to the shoulder, was still there. I contained my disgust as best I could and continued with the protocol. Around 10 p.m., I began to notice a foul smell coming from the grate outside the guard room. This smell usually comes out on summer days because the water passes through there when they wash the body for the autopsy. I sprayed air freshener and closed the window a little, but the stench persisted. Through the cameras, I saw white smoke coming out of that grate for about 10 seconds. I didn't think anything about it. I didn't want to. But as soon as I closed the front door, the door to my on-call room slammed violently behind me. I was frozen. I tried to convince myself it was the wind, but something told me it wasn't. When I got back, my phone died so quickly it seemed quite strange. So I decided to play on my laptop. It took 20 minutes to boot up, which I also found strange. So I just stared at the cameras out of boredom. I instantly regretted it. One of the trays inside the burial chamber moved on its own, sliding deeper into the chamber, where there was no longer access for security cameras or outsiders. I was stunned. Minutes later, the knocking on the door began, dry and insistent blows. My heart was beating wildly. I turned off the cameras, turned on music, and forced myself to ignore everything until someone knocked on the window. I didn't know whether to pray or scream. At 4:15, the door to the guardhouse opened by itself. I went out trembling to close it, but my movements were clumsy, slow, as if something invisible was holding me back. The smell of rotting meat was unbearable. I felt watched. It is incredibly hot where I live during the summer. No one leaves the air-conditioned paradise that is their home unless they absolutely have to. Watching the news one night, the weatherman speaking in his usual drone informed us that there was a heat wave incoming and that it would be even hotter than it normally is over the weekend. "Oh hell no," my husband says to me, clearly irritated. "Well, why don't we go to my grandpa's cabin Friday night to avoid it?" I replied. He definitely liked the idea. My grandfather gave us his permission to go up there for the weekend, just asking that we do a few things to help him keep it cleaned up and do some fire hazard reduction for him. We agreed, looking forward to a weekend alone and out of the heat. Thursday evening, we pick up the keys from him and pack up our truck to leave early in the morning. Friday morning, we headed up there and stopped in a small town at the base of the mountain to get some gas and snacks. We're standing outside the truck, eating push pops, waiting for the gas to pump when my husband smiles at me. "Don't you dare," I say, knowing full well what is about to come out of his mouth. He starts chuckling between licks of his push pop and whispers in my ear, "Slender Man. Ha ha ha, Slendy is waiting for you up there. You're hilarious," I reply sarcastically. "If only." We reach the cabin and get the lights and water going. Take our bags and the groceries in. It's a little chilly, so I decide to grab some firewood from the back while he finishes unloading the truck. I stop abruptly at the side of the house as I notice some scratch marks. Long, thin, and going along the side like someone was dragging a rake almost while walking along. Those weren't there last time I was here, but it had been a very long time since I had been there, so I shook my head and continued on to the back to grab a few logs. The rest of the day goes by without incident. We go fishing, ride the ATVs, make some s'mores. We're sitting comfortably, cuddling on the sofa, flipping through channels on whatever the rabbit ears on the TV will pick up when we hear scratching and knocking along the side of the house. My husband must have felt me tense up because he immediately says, "It's probably rats." I look at him and say, "Are you fucking kidding me? Rats? No way." The sound suddenly stops and doesn't start up again, so after an hour or so we go to bed. The next morning I go outside to grab more firewood. Curiosity gets the better of me, and I decide to go look on the side of the cabin where I heard the banging, and what I see immediately makes me want to puke. Sure, the sound was rats, being nailed to the wall. There are half-eaten rat carcasses all over the wall, surrounded by those same scratch marks that I had seen the day before. That was enough for me. I start yelling for my husband to show him. "Whoa, that's messed up," he says when I show him. "I want to leave. Like today. I don't want to stay another night." He makes another joke about Slender Man and tells me we'll be fine. If it makes you feel safer, we'll shut all the window and door coverings. The cabin had these big wooden doors and window coverings that lock to prevent anyone from breaking in while no one is there. I agree to this and say we'll stay another night. Just before dusk, we lock everything up and barricade the front door, mostly because I demanded it so I could sleep easily. Just as the night before, as we're sitting down watching television, I hear the dragging, scratching, and knocking. I sit there petrified. My husband yells, "Stop it! Whoever you are, you aren't funny." Just as he says that, the knocking intensifies and we hear a deep growling through the cracks in the wood, puffs of breath say in a crackling inhuman voice, "Come out to play with me." I run up the stairs faster than I have ever run in my entire life, heart thundering hurt against my chest, barely able to breathe. I hide under the covers. What the heck that's going to do I don't know, but it brings me an inkling of comfort. I sit there cursing my husband for not leaving when we had the chance. Whatever is out there laughs in that horrible voice for hours, knocking and knocking all over the house, claws scratching the walls, rattling the doors and window covering, trying so hard to get them open. Eventually it stops, and we fall into an uneasy sleep. That morning we pack up our shit in a hurry and get into the truck. The house is covered in torn-in-half animals, raccoons, squirrels, foxes. There's even half a deer on the deck. We throw all of our shit into the truck, and just before we leave, I remember that my grandpa keeps motion capture cameras on the trees surrounding the house because he likes the pictures of the wildlife. I grab them and flip through them as we're driving off, happy to be getting the heck out of there. The pictures are nice enough. Some deer, a few blue jays, which makes me smile because they're his favorite. Just as I finally start to relax and breathe easy, I start to see pictures of the animals being nailed to the cabin. The next picture has me shaking so hard I'm about to drop the camera. Written in blood on the side of the cabin where I had originally seen the scratches are the words, "Goodbye. Thanks for playing." The final picture is what makes me scream. The first thing I notice is the yellow cat's slit eyes glaring into the camera. The minuscule, pinprick teeth covered in fur and blood and all manner of viscera. It's hunched over, its spine in an arch, waving at the camera. Furry stick-like legs ending in cloven hooves with the torso of a man. It's emaciated and gangly thin. It's clearly laughing at us and the fun it's having. I drop the camera, willing the image out of my mind, and look out the window, just in time to see it waving at me as we drive out of the woods. This happened to me when I was 5 years old. I kind of remember certain things as if it were a dream. I don't remember all of it. My parents told me all the story about what happened to me. As I mentioned, I was 5, and we had just relocated to a small town in the United Kingdom. In the town was an abandoned airfield, and our house was located at the edge of this. On the other side was marshland for miles. It was a pretty isolated location. The house was one of 4 or 5 that were converted from a large barn. As we met other people and told them that we just moved into this house, they got a bit twitchy. Many people say that the house is cursed. Some people from the town used to go there to practice dark magic back in the olden days. As we moved into that house, strange things began to happen. The house had a central front door leading to a downstairs lobby and a staircase in the middle. Upstairs were balconies on either side of the staircase leading to bedrooms. I had a cabin bed in my room with wardrobes underneath. Most nights, I would have recurring dreams about wolves chasing me through a forest. The dream would end at the same point every night. One night, it carried on past the usual ending point. I got out of the woods and turned, then woke up with a jolt. Suddenly, something slammed against the edge of the bed frame. Scared, I looked up. A dark figure ran out of the room, through the closed door, letting off a high-pitched scream. I was shivering in fear. The next thing that happened was the worst. My mom put me to bed one night and went back downstairs. My dad was at work. A short while later, she heard screaming from my bedroom. She said it was like blood curdling, fearing for life screaming. She ran upstairs. Our black dog was sitting outside the door as if guarding. She opened the door and the screaming immediately stopped. Silence, except for one thing. In the middle of my room, all of my toys were stacked one on top of the other, way higher than I could have reached. At the top was a teddy bear that played a tune when you pressed on its stomach. The tune was playing. She looked in my bed and I wasn't there. She searched the house top to bottom, panicking but couldn't find me. She eventually went to the next door neighbors to ask for their help, and a search of the area took place. Eventually I was found, in a bed, in the next door neighbor's house on the opposite side of the wall to my bed. I was fast asleep. We moved out the next day, and later rented the house to a family that owned the local Italian restaurant. After a few days, the man threw the keys into our house and said he won't step foot in there ever again. No other explanation. I'm not sure what happened to the house after that, as we sold the house a couple of years later. I did happen to be working nearby a few years ago and decided to drive to the house. I parked up at the end of the lane, looked at the house, and the feeling I got was awful.